December 4th, 1981. In the heart of the Baltic, a Soviet task force is making a dangerous push towards the Danish Straits. Led by a missile cruiser, the convoy also carries vital landing ships and resupply vessels. Their mission? An operation that could shift the balance of power in Europe. But NATO will not let them pass unchallenged. Lurking beneath the waves are 3 German submarines, lying in wait, ready to strike at the heart of the Soviet fleet. The submarines are positioned for an ambush. Their targets? The missile cruiser, the landing ship, and the resupply vessel. A single coordinated strike could cripple the Soviet fleet, but the operation is fraught with danger. The P-3 Orion is already in the air, providing aerial surveillance and critical intelligence. But the Soviets are prepared. MiG fighters patrol the skies, hunting for any NATO air presence. The stakes are enormous. NATO submarines must strike quickly and decisively. The Soviets cannot be allowed to land their forces or resupply, but one mistake could expose the entire operation. Hey there and welcome back to Sea Power. Today we are operating a couple of Type 206 German patrol submarines. These submarines are tasked with ambushing a Soviet landing force. There are a couple of key ships that we need to sink from the Soviets in order to diminish that efficacy of the force. Unfortunately, of course, those Soviet submarine or those Soviet surface ships are not going to go down easily. They will have some friends, and they also have airborne friends. They have a couple of MiGs patrolling overhead. Which means that my P-3C is not necessarily going to have a very easy time just serving as a radar platform. Nevertheless, I do want it in the area, because I might be able to defend it. We also have access to a couple of Type 148 Tiger-class patrol boats. Or rather, missile boats. These guys are not armed with harpoons. You can see they have a different canister. This is the MM38 Exocet. Anti-surface weapon, but it only has a range of 22.5 miles. That does limit its usefulness. On the other hand, these things are very sneaky. They're small, and with a small radar profile comes a pretty decent chance to sneak up. The problem is, if they're going to make it here, they'll expect to be there in 7.5 hours. It's unacceptable. We're going to go all ahead flank. I'm going to change this formation. I want to have this formation just be a formation line, so that it's going to be a little easier to maneuver. Because sometimes these patrol boats tend to dunk themselves right onto a beach. At least if you have them wide enough. Like this island over here, or this peninsula, that's something that they would like to ram. Anyway, at best speed, we're going to be able to get here in about 3 hours. And if the Soviet gets there before us, well, that means we will have lost. I also have an airbase. This is supposed to be Schleswig Air Base, but seeing as that's not actually in the game yet, that means that we're going to have to make do with this. I'm going to launch 2 flights of F-4Es. These are going to be my aerial guardians. I'm very much hopeful that these guys with their AIM-7Es and AIM-9Js are capable of eradicating those MiGs. We also have access to some other air wings. We get a couple of P-3s, we get a couple of EA-6Bs, so that's Prowlers. And I actually want to have 1 Prowler in the air. I also have 1 RA-5C in the air, that's a recon flight. And as for the CH-46, I don't really see a purpose for them. That's a logistics helicopter, like a smaller Chinook, if you will. It's the same design. It's a transport, but it doesn't say exactly what it transports, so I'm taking as that is still a work-in-progress feature. As for the rest, well, we'll just have to listen out and figure out who is who. Because this is a busy sea strait, and of course, I cannot really have my submarines just go, hey, can you kindly identify yourself? Seeing as that would kind of defeat the purpose of being a submarine. The Soviets do seem eager to figure out where I am and what sort of forces are around them, because they have an active radar on land. It could be a Rogov, a Cannon, a Kara, a Kashin, or a Cresta, so we have plenty of options, and 4 more. I really doubt, though, that it's on land, so it's much more likely to be somewhere in this part of the ellipsis, rather than on land. Let's see if the P-3 with a brief radar burst can figure out what's what. Nope. Oh, hello. That's a helo. We're getting an emission from it, so it's actually blasting away on its radar. Seeing as I don't have any helos in there, I'm going to classify that as a hostile helicopter. I'd love to shoot it down using this wing of Phantoms, but of course that would be a bit risky. Flying directly over a Soviet surface group. It comes with some risk, i.e. getting shot down. I also have that second wing airborne. We have the other ones who have just taken off. To have you join the fight as well. Well, not the fight. Let's have you join the fun, shall we say. It's not fighting yet. You're going to go there. Go to 30,000 feet. And up we go. As for what this is, I'm not sure. My submarine's having difficulty actually figuring out what that is. It could be a merchant. But there's that one more line. That makes me a bit hesitant to fully ID it as hostile or neutral. So at the moment I don't know. I'm just going to classify it as an unknown for now. Keep an eye on it. Or rather an ear, because at the moment with that P3 still 100 miles out, we're not really getting any kind of identification on it. A few notes about this scenario. These submarines are diesel electrics. They're Type 206 patrol submarines, which means they're not nuclear. This has some implications. They're desperately slow underwater, and they have a battery. If you want to have one of these diesel-electric boats recycle their battery, or charge their battery rather, you're going to have to come up to periscope depth and activate the snorkel mast. Only then will you be able to recharge your batteries. This is a bit of a tactical issue, because it means you're going to have to plan when you want these things to recharge. Also, they really don't have a whole lot of firepower on them. They have 8 torpedoes. This is the TP613. I'm not exactly sure if that is normally what they carry. It's an anti-surface weapon with a range of 10.6 miles. So what I'm going to do is set these range circles up so that I know exactly what the range is for all of these submarines. I'm going to say this guy has a range of 10.6. We got this guy also at 10.6. And we already have overlapping fields of fire at this point, which is good. But the Soviets, it doesn't really matter what sort of platform they bring out, they tend to have a bunch more firepower than you do. Especially when it comes down to submarine warfare, or rather anti-submarine warfare. So the U-22 in the middle has a decent position. Hold on, what's that? This is an altitude of 37,000 feet. That'd be a very impressive helicopter. So, these, they're also way too fast. Is that MiGs? Leader, activate your... Oh, you're already using your air surge radar. Why? MCON. They're also using their radar. Interesting. All these merchants. Can we somehow use these merchants? Can we use them as auditory blocks? Oh, maybe this one. Yeah, yep, it's been identified. K-27PL. ASW helicopter, though you can just use it as an aerial scout if you so please. It does have a radar dish after all. Let's see. This merchant's heading east. Is that actually where he is? New radar contact. There's something large out there, 80 miles out. Okay, anyway, this was about that merchant. He's heading east at 9 knots. We're going to use that. We're going to come to periscope depth. We're going to go ahead standard. I don't really care if I make noise now, because I'm way too far away for these guys to hear me, even with that helicopter airborne. And this helicopter is doing about 3,000 feet soon. They're not that likely to really pose that big of a deal. Because they're not dropping sonobuoys from 3,000 feet. Not if you want to keep your sonobuoy landed in the water intact. So, this sub is going to come up to the surface. Or at least PD, periscope depth. And from there, it's kind of going to sneak along with this merchant while recharging its batteries. Hopefully that way, I'll be able to sneak to a position where they'll not detect me. At least not yet. There's another merchant here. The problem is we don't really have an air search radar in the area, except for those F4Es. Give me a brief radar search. Oh, it's a Grisha. Okay. How do we know that? Oh, it has its own activator. Okay, fine. So this guy is using its own radar. Interesting. There's something else out there that's already been identified as hostile. Aggressor, Tarantula, or Tarantula, RE. Right. And the helo? These guys don't carry helicopters, that's for sure. So the helicopter came from somewhere else. Okay. You're at periscope depth? Good. Where's snorkel mast? Hopefully that won't stick out of the water too much. And now we're going to be snorkeling and recharging our batteries. Avoiding cavitation, speed limit 5 knots. Okay, that's fine. That means we'll stay more or less ahead of that merchant for a while. As they close in at 9 knots. Good. This is a large contact? What do we know about it? Yeah, it could be a merchant and 21 other things. I'm not banking on that being a merchant. I don't want to just classify it as neutral. Too great a risk. In the meanwhile, with my F4Es, these guys are getting a bit too close for my taste. They're 18 miles out. I want to have this other wing join up. No, 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 I don't need to go down. I need to stay at 37. I don't like anything about this. If those MiGs are going to try and hunt down my F4Es, I'd rather have numbers. And thankfully, we'll be able to join up pretty quick. In about 3 minutes. I just need to stay ahead of these MiGs until then. How are we doing on range? We're doing well on range, good. Okay, so we got 2 Grishes at least. And some MiGs. I don't want my P3 to get caught in the crossfire. Let's have you go back a bit. Don't want to lose that asset. Even though I have more, I just don't want to lose an asset. Range. About 27 miles. Yeah, okay. Now they know that this group is here. I'm not sure if they know the other group of F4s is there. Just go to loiter. Oh, yeah, they do. Okay, I'm going to pause it for a second, because I don't trust 4 airliners to be flying information, so this is hostile. They're already on top of me. At 6 miles. Okay. That means the whole formation is now going to go loud. We're going to go formation, formation orders, air search radar. Sometimes you do see these kind of weird placeholders. Like, my units don't have active sonar. And I've already reported that to the dev. So if that caught your eye going, why do your F4s have active sonar? They don't, but it's a placeholder. We're going to turn that on. I'm going to tell these guys to go weapons free. And go bag some MiGs. This fishing boat's about to have a very spectacular air show. There's the missiles going out. Popping flares. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3. 1 down. 2 MiGs are down. We have lost 2 F4s. Okay, it's time to have that other group also join this fight. Weapons free. Activate your air search radar. I'm going to pause for a second to figure out what's going on. We have 1, 2, 3 dead F4s, 1 alive. I want you to continue the chase. We splashed 2 MiG-21 Bisses. Badly as well. There's still 2 of them left. And they do still have missiles. They only used 1. This guy's jumping down. That AIM-7E is completely going off course. Performing pursuit. Dude, it doesn't look like you're performing a pursuit. These guys should be in range, actually. Weapon away. Come on, link up with them. Your altitude's 34,000 feet and dropping. There's my other F4. Oh, are they gonna try to get... Yeah, they're gonna try to get behind the F4. Get up. Listen to me. There's the MiGs joining pursuit. Oh boy. At this point, I do need you guys weapons free, like the whole formation. Oh, this is gonna get tight. That's the MiGs, and there's the F4. I think the F4 is gonna stall out in a minute. We're doing 127 knots. We got one MiG dead. The other ones are still chasing. That's a bailout. I think that MiG's going up there. 40,000 feet. My F4 is still up there. Ooh. Missile away. Catch that MiG. Wherever he is. Guns? Okay. That's interesting. So this guy shot it down with guns. That's impressive. Although it did report that it shot it down with CIWS, so that's something else that I'm going to report to the devs. But good job. We have bagged 4 MiGs. Unfortunately, we lost 3 planes while doing that. I think. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes. Okay, so we got 6 planes. No, that's a missile. We got 5 planes still airborne. Good. Well done to the F4s. Now that the battle, at least with those MiGs, seemingly has been won, maybe we can shoot down this helicopter. Because this eye in the sky could be a problem. There's just so many. It could be a problem, because if that thing starts spotting these, and they might, then there's a very real risk of getting met by some very long-range missiles from such gentlemen as the Sovremenny over here. Sovremenny has the SSN-22 with a range of 135 miles. I wouldn't be surprised if they can already hit me. Not quite. But give them a moment and they'll be in range. As for my submarines, they do have their torpedoes, but they also have a potential challenge on their hands. The submarines only carry 8 torps. So between the 3 of them I have 24. But these Soviet ships are very capable of shooting missiles with their anti-submarine warfare, with their ASROCs, or rather their RBUs. So it's very possible that these guys see a torpedo coming, dump a bunch of those RBUs in the water, and splash the torpedo. In which case, I am going to have a very difficult time actually figuring out how to kill that. This is one of our targets, by the way. Here's the other target. And the lead ship of the formation, the Cresta-class missile cruiser, that's the 3rd target. If you sink these 3 ships, you win the scenario. In case you're wondering, how do I know that? Well, I built the scenario. So thereby, I know more or less what the formation is. And I know exactly how difficult the scenario is going to be. Because these guys are not going to go down easy. As for my F4s, I might want to take a stab at this Ka-27, but before I do that, I want to pause it and figure out what the missile range is on these guys. 16 miles. Okay. Sovremenny. 13 miles. Grisha. 8 miles. Rogov and Chilkin can't shoot. And this cannon-class destroyer? 16 miles. Okay. So, arguably, it should be feasible to shoot this helo down. Let's meet it where it is. Go to 20,000 feet. And let's see if we can hunt this guy out of the sky. What are you doing? Oh, well that's ambitious. You're going after target 7024? What is that even? 7024 might be the other helicopter. And he's now going to try and shoot it with an AIM-7E. Okay, that makes more sense than trying to go after whatever the hell the other target was. Missile away. And helo is somewhere up ahead. Wonder if they're doing any kind of evasive. Not by the looks of it. They're perfectly steady. Alright. I don't know if the Ka-27s have chaff. Yeah, they do. That was flares, I think. And chaff as well. Yeah, missile got spoofed. Go again. He's now 3 miles out. Come on, dude. Get that helicopter away from my submarines. No, he's veering off. Oh, now you're joining formation. Okay. I did tell that one surviving F4 to join the formation. And now this other F4 has been tasked with going on the offensive. My aircraft are still on air search radar. So with that, it is entirely likely that the enemy knows exactly where they are. But I don't really care, because they can't really do much. They can just kindly look at how their helicopter is going to get obliterated. At least, if everything works according to plan. 4 miles out. 3 miles out. And he's getting fooled. Next missile. This helicopter's getting really lucky. Oh, dude. This AIM-7 has decided to go after a target, after a cargo ship? That would be pretty bad for him. Oh, now you want to shoot it down with guns? Okay then. It's ambitious. But I like it. Tell the whole formation to go. This helo is leading a blessed life. I've already dodged 3 missiles. I really don't want to get much closer than about 30. Yeah. Oh, we got him. Not a whole lot left of that helo. Was that a gun run? Yeah, with Seawiz again. Well done. This guy's returning to base. He's expended all of his missiles, at least the longer range missiles. That's fine. You're free to go back. You can rejoin the formation. I'm not sure if I still have a job for you after, but at least we'll be able to control the skies. If there's more helicopters, it's possible that we'll see those. This cannon... Does the cannon have a helicopter? None. Okay, so they don't. The Cresta might... Yeah, the Cresta definitely has a helo, but how many? How many helos do you bring, dude? K-25TS. Sovremeni has no room. Well, sorry, they do have room. So these guys also carry a helicopter, and that means that they might launch another. It was their K-27PL that I managed to knock out of the skies. These guys, well, they're a big ship, but they don't actually carry any aircraft. Although with a hangar that big, it does look like they have plenty of room. And then this Chilkin, Fleet Oiler, it's not that big of a threat. But for the scenario, I'm assuming that it's going to be used to just resupply these Soviet ships and keep them out to sea for a very long time. What kind of surprises me is that all these Soviet ships are using their radars. They're all going at it with active radar. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what they're hoping to find. I'm not sure what they're hoping to shoot. Let's get this P3 a little closer now that those MiGs are gone. Is submarine still snorkeling? 100% battery left. Good. Now, there are a couple of different ways that I can approach this situation. I can have the submarines link up, and that has the potential of having a very hefty punch, because all the submarines are together. The downside is, if they find one, they're very likely to find the other two as well. And just hit everybody with depth charges and sink all the submarines. If the submarines sink for their final time, that's the end of it. That's the end of the scenario. So then you lose. I'd like to prevent that. So the alternative is to have these guys spread out. And maybe even wait for those missile boats. Because they do have a nice amount of missiles that they can share between the Russians. We have 16 missiles total. But the Grishas have their own Seawiz. I very much believe that this ship is extremely capable of defending itself with multiple Seawiz batteries, as well as interceptors. Missile interceptors, that is. The Cresta, of course, being a missile cruiser, has plenty of missile solutions for these issues. The Russians have a lot of options. And I really have to rely upon my submarines. Something interesting I noticed is that P3C Orions now actually have the capability of carrying harpoons. In a previous build that I had access to, they didn't have that. They just had an ASW loadout. So with these two aircraft, I'm able to now put a couple of harpoons on target. They have 4 harpoons each. It's not a whole lot. But it'll definitely draw the attention of the Soviets. And if I approach when I also am jamming their systems, using the EA-6B all the way up here, I might be able to get a shot at the key target, the Rogov. This is that landing ship that needs to get eradicated. Of course, their friends are not going to let that sit idly by. So the alternative is to go for Grishes. These guys are definitely capable of defending themselves from missiles. They have the SAN-4, they have their own Seawiz, they have their guns, they have noisemakers and chaff. Noisemakers not strictly being useful against a missile, but the chaff definitely is. So if I'm able to engage the Grishes with missiles each, that'll either at least damage one or potentially kill one. And alternatively, it's going to expose a bunch of their missiles, or it's going to wear down the amount of missiles that they have. Unfortunately, these P3s aren't particularly fast. So while they're very nice aircraft, they're not particularly quick. Let's just have these guys come in. Also, I believe that the P3s don't actually have range. Oh, they do have range. Never mind. They do have range. So that means that this guy over here also at some point has to come down. Yeah, but they're just loitering. They're loitering. They're not really going to run out of fuel anytime soon. Give me a brief burst. Yeah, I know exactly where they are. They're nicely formed up. So for many more or less in the middle. And these two Grishes as pickets. I guess I could keep this aircraft's radar on. There are no further air threats. There are no further MiGs. So in that sense, this aircraft is safe. And that would give me a constant and accurate picture of what's going on down there. So yeah, let's just keep it on for the time being. And with that, I will leave you for now. The second part of this scenario is going to come very soon, or already available for channel members. And you'll be able to see whether or not my submarines can complete their ambush, and whether or not the P3s will be able to execute their harpoon strike. See you soon for part 2.